Okay, this is the second video on quadratic formula, and we're just practicing some more. Notice that all of these answers are in decimal form, so you have to change the radicals into decimals or plug them into your calculator, and so none of these will be in radical form. So let's just pick two to do together, and then the rest of them you can do by yourself. Let's do 5, and then we'll do 9, and then that'll be it. So on number 5, A, B, and C. So A is 1. Let me change the color here. A is 1. B is -8. And C is -11. Okay, so -b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go through and I'm going to change all of the a's to 1. Which you can barely read that. Let me try again. And then I'm going to go through and change all of the b's to -8. Notice what happens when I have a -8 right here. These negatives are going to cancel each other out, and this actually just going to become a +8, because a negative of a negative is a positive. When you take -8 and square it, it's going to become a +64, no matter what. So make sure that you realize that when b is negative, it's in the formula, it's really not going to be negative anymore, because it's the first one. This part is going to change it to positive, and then this one, because you square it, it's going to change it to positive. Doesn't really matter, but just know that you should not be getting negatives there, because neither one of those should stay negative if it starts out as a negative. And then C is -11. So I'm just going to write it up here because I'm running out of room, but I'm going to multiply those. Okay, so we have 8 plus or minus the square root of 8 squared, and I got 4 times 1 times -11, which is going to give me -44. So I'm going to put a -44 in here. Notice what happens when you have a negative and a negative, like double negatives here, they're going to turn into positives. And then I'm going to divide everything by 2. So I really have 8 plus or minus the square root of 8 squared plus 44, all of that divided by 2. Well, 8 squared is 64, so let's go ahead and fill that in. And 64 plus 44 is 108. So let's go ahead and fill that in. So now I'm to the point where I can just put this in my calculator and it can tell me the answer. So you're going to have two separate things that you're going to put in your calculator. You're going to do 8 plus the square root of 108. Make sure you put that in parentheses. That's going to be one answer. And then the other one is going to be 8 minus the square root of 108 divided by 2. And they rounded the answers, so make sure that you're looking. They rounded to the 10th. So when you solve it, you're going to get 9.2 for this one and -1.2 for the other. If you look back, you can see that the answers are right here. And to find the riddle, you actually cross these out. You won't be using that letter for the riddle. So let's try number 9. Do number 9 by yourself first. Make sure you can get it, and then we'll do it together. Alright, hopefully you've done what you can by yourself, and now you're either done or you're just checking your work. So this is what I have so far, and again, hopefully you're starting to memorize the formula. -b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So I'm going to go through, and I'm going to write a 1, no, it's usually a 1, 2, everywhere that there was an a. I'm going to write a -8 again, that's weird. Everywhere that there was a b, and I'm going to write a -15 everywhere there was a c. Notice that the -8s aren't going to be negative anymore, like exactly the same reason before. Because it was a negative b, if it was already a negative, now it changes to a positive b. So let's go ahead and do the discriminant first. So in your calculator, take 8 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 15. And you should get a positive 184. So that's what's going to go here. So we're really taking the square root of positive 184. And then we can go ahead and simplify the bottom. 2 times 2 is 4. And once we do that, we're really ready to just plug it into our calculator. Okay, so we're going to have two solutions, as always. And don't forget your parentheses. Always start with your parentheses. 8 plus the square root of 184 divided by 4. So the first one is 5.4. And the second one is negative 1.4. So let's go back and check and see if we can find our answers. And sure enough, 5.4 and negative 1.4 is right here. So the other 8, I want you to do by yourself, or you can work with a partner. And if you have any questions, raise your hand and get help.